Good afternoon. I am trying to get my stuff all lined up here and ready for this live. It is Saturday, the 5th of December, and it is very much so a Saturday that is in December, in the sense of 1 minute I'm hot, the next minute I am freezing. But that could also just be because I'm getting ready to be, just turned 50, and us ladies go through some changes around that time. So I am very happy to be here this afternoon. It is Saturday, December the 5th, 2012, and this is Lizette from Think Different Dementia. I'm happy to have you guys here. I hope people are joining me today. It is very much a wonderful Saturday, and I am. Hi, Eunice. I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. How's your mom? I've been wondering about her. I've been praying for you guys. Um, so, Lizette, I'm an occupational therapist from Think Different Dementia. I have a Facebook group also called Think Different Dementia, which I invite you to join if you're interested in. I am trying to start this little group to be able to answer questions and do a little bit more of a educational component as we get into this over time. I have had a wonderful week. It's been a very busy week. I'm trying to get my course that I'm doing for the South Carolina Occupational Therapy Association's annual conference. I'm actually doing a course on dementia, and so I thought that would be kind of fun to do. I'm doing it more on the new research into what you can do to prevent dementia and to prevent cognitive decline. So that has been a significant learning curve for me. In the comments earlier today when I posted this, I said I was going to talk a little bit about something called non-intrusive monitoring. So what is non-intrusive monitoring? Non-intrusive monitoring of a loved one who has dementia or newer technology that has come out. A lot of people use cameras in their mom or dad's house, or they use other ways of being able to track behavior, which typically is a camera with an app that you can look at what's going on in the house. Some people have a lot of problems with that in the sense of privacy, and so I've come across a company by the name of Home Accept, and I have become an affiliate for them. So full disclosure, I'm an affiliate for the company, but I am actually using it in my parents' house, and it has been a wonderful thing for me to be able to learn how I can be involved and see the behavior that my parents are having in their own homes without having cameras in the home. So I thought I would share that with you this afternoon, because I believe that this technology is going to significantly make an impact on people's lives and their abilities to stay at home for longer with additional support. And so how this system works is you obviously have to have internet, right? Most of these things you can't use unless you have some sort of a Wi-Fi connection or an internet connection in the house. So how Home Accept works is that it has a gateway. The gateway that you plug the gateway into the computer, into your router at home. And I'm looking around on my desk because I actually have a sensor here. The one that didn't work on my system because they have a couple of upgrades. So you plug the router, you plug the system into the router. It's a gateway, very easy to do, and then the kit comes with these little sensors. Now they don't look like they're much, but these sensors look at movement, can pick up movement, they can pick up humidity, they can pick up temperature changes. And so I wanted to see my mom and dad's behavior in the house, more my mom than my dad. My dad will probably kill me if he heard me saying my mom and dad's behavior, but it's in their house, so I can kind of track both of their behaviors. My dad is still very independent and takes care of my mom. I wanted to kind of start to, and I have their permission to do this on in their house, right? So I wanted to be able to see how this would work from a practical perspective, from an occupational therapy perspective. How could I use this to help either my parents or clients in the future? So I have this sensor. The kit comes with 5, and it has an app that you can set up on your phone, and that multiple people can track over the phone. It's very secure. It has the ability to you have the ability to be able to add people on. So for example, I can add my sister on. She lives up in New Hampshire. She can kind of look around on the app if she wanted to. You can you can track movement. You can look at usual movement, unusual movement, or when there's expected movement. And so what I have done, and I just yesterday changed it. I've had it in their house for about 2 months now, and I just kind of wanted to see what happened. And now I've actually changed it to be able to, it notifies me whenever there's a movement. I just had it running in the background. But I'm going to try to hold this up for you guys to see. Maybe there. So this is what the app looks like. So I have a chair at a TV, a study chair, a whole toilet, my mom's bed, and another bathroom. So I added the second toilet yesterday. So it shows movement over time. So whoops, I've got to find the camera. Those little red dots on the app is telling me every single time somebody actually used that toilet, right? The reason I put it on that particular spot, and I'm going to show you this one over here because you can see where I added so the top gray boxes are where I just had it running, and then yesterday I added the movements. Those little red ones show where somebody's actually sat down on the study chair. So now I can actually see, because I felt like the without the movement sensor showing me what was going on, I wasn't getting as accurate data regarding who, where the movements were in the house. So this is one of my mom's bed. I have it on her bed because I want to see if she's taking a nap throughout the day. The reason I'm tracking my mom's behavior is because she's become very sedentary over the last several months, and I've noticed a significant change in her independence level. For example, she and my dad came to come visit us a few weeks ago. Well, not even a few weeks ago, on Thanksgiving. That was it. My mom came to visit us on Thanksgiving, which was a week ago. Was it a week? Yeah, it was a week ago. So she came to visit us on Thanksgiving, and she was at our house in September. And we have 3 steps into the house. And from September for my birthday, my 50th birthday, until now, which was Thanksgiving, which 2.5 months, 8 to 10 weeks, my mom is having difficulty getting up and down my steps. And I'm like, whoa, that is a big difference. That's a big change in a very short period of time. So I actually installed this in their house around my 50th birthday, which was in September, and I am finding a tremendous benefit from having this. So like I said, I'm an affiliate for this. You can use these. They have temperature sensors. So some people put it on a fridge. Like if my mom and dad live together, right? So I can do things a little bit differently because I know my dad's cooking. I know my dad's taking care of all of those kind of higher level stuff. I was just tracking my mom's behavior. But some people put the sensor on a fridge. So it's a loved one living alone who needs some monitoring and you want to make sure that they're actually eating. Well, you can put it on a fridge and you can set up time notifications to let you know between certain periods of time whether or not they've actually accessed the fridge, whether or not there was movement or temperature. People put it on the outside of the fridge to see if it's opening up. Some people put it on the inside of the fridge. It'll pick up the temperature inside the fridge and the humidity, but it'll also pick up the movement as the fridge door opens. Some people put it on the stove. It'll pick up temperature on the stove. So for example, if you wanted to know somebody's used the oven and it's been switched off, you can set it up that way. I'm actually going to move one of the sensors now that I've kind of seen what's going on, and I'm going to put it on their front door to see how many times they're going in and out of the house, because I want to see COVID has changed their behaviors significantly, right? So I am massively impressed with the capability of this. And what I really like about it, it is private. I don't have to see them moving around the house to see what's going on in the house. So if any of you are interested in this, please reach out to me. I would be happy to talk to you about it and set you up with looking at the app and multiple different ways of getting in contact with the people. I would love to talk to you about it. My email address is thinkdifferentdementia@gmail.com, so I'm going to put that on, and the other Facebook group is, and I can't write and type, Think Different Dementia. Is my private Facebook group. So those are two ways you can get a hold of me. You can always message me. My name is Lizette Klute. I'm an occupational therapist. You can message me on Facebook. I get back to people. So far nobody's thrown out any questions. It's just been me talking, but this was my little educational component today regarding home accept. So if you are interested, please reach out to me. And if you do want to do it on your own, I do have a code you can use. So their information is home accept, and my code is TDD. To make it easy, you can order it straight from Home Accept if you would prefer that, and I think it's homeaccept.com. So we will just try that. Of course, I should have thought about that before I came, but anyhow. So like I said, Home Accept. It's a wonderful resource. Yep, there they do. They popped right up. There you go. And so my code is TDD. Think Different Dementia. So TDD. So I did have a few questions earlier this week, so let me jump right in and get to the first question. And so I had an opportunity to message this person a little bit, Tamsin, a little bit before Handon asked some follow-up questions, because she asked me a question privately. And remember, you can ask me questions privately at any time. I try to do this once a week on a Saturday from 12 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. I still don't get why Eunice is up in the middle of the night, but anyway, I love that Eunice is up in the middle of the night. So Tamsin said the following: she's finding her mom wants to hold on to her role as being her mom, and she doesn't want to deprive her of that, which I totally understand. However, Tamsin, is having trouble getting her mom to take her seriously when she talks to her about the musts of her diagnosis, medication, nutrition, etc. Since she's recently moved, her mom is extra confused, and her question was, what is the best way to explain her recent setbacks? And then she added her mom was a nurse for her career, so she does understand neurology. And then my follow-up questions here were the clarifications that I had asked for. So Tamsin's mom is 83 years old, and about 3.5 years ago she was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. And now she has moderate cognitive impairment, diagnosed about 6 months ago. Last week she moved from home to a continuing care retirement center and lives independently and lives independently there. She had been living at home with family support for meals and her higher level self-care things like housekeeping and things like that. She has friends in her building who have helped her when she's lost her key, and she was Tamsin has phone contact almost daily and help with Alexa. She took her meds most consistently. So, Tamsin, back to your first question. What is the best way to explain her recent setbacks? Though that is a great question, and thank you for the additional information you gave me. So remember, and Tamsin I know is an occupational therapist because we've kind of messaged privately. Her background is not in dementia care, so that's kind of why she's reached out to me, because that's my specialty, right? My specialty is dementia care. So Tamsin's mom is 83 years old, and she had mild cognitive impairment 3.5 years ago. So remember when I've been talking to you guys about the different stages of dementia, we start with the pre-dementia phase is what we call subjective cognitive impairment. People who are feeling themselves that they're having trouble with their thinking processes, that things have changed. They may be forgetting things more, etc. But that is the stage when it's subjective, when it's myself. It's the stage before any tests kind of show up that there's any trouble. So 3.5 years ago, when her mom was, if she's 83 now, she was 79, 78 and a half, 79, somewhere around there, she was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. Well, what mild cognitive impairment literally means, is it's the first level where any sort of standardized test will show that the person is actually having trouble with their thinking, right? So the first thing is, I think I'm having trouble, but nothing shows up on a test. The second stage is, I think I'm having trouble, but now it's actually showing up on a test. So her mom 3.5 years ago had mild cognitive impairment. So about 6 months ago, it went from diagnosed mild cognitive impairment to moderate cognitive impairment. And a week ago, so right around Thanksgiving, maybe a little bit more before Thanksgiving, either right before or right after Thanksgiving, her mom moved from a very familiar surrounding, a home where she had probably lived for a long period of time, to a continuing care community. And it sounds like, and I didn't specifically follow up and ask her this, but it sounds like she's still living in an independent living apartment, perhaps in an independent living retirement community. And what those mean is, those continuing care communities mean that they have independent apartments or houses, like the one where I live. They have both apartments and houses, but you would have some access to meals if you needed it. You could pay for some additional caregiver support in the house, those kinds of things. So independent living. Then the next level is typically an assisted living, which are more like a 1 or a 2 bedroom apartment, depending on the facility. Correct? And then you also have, sometimes they have a memory care unit, and then so they'll have assisted living for people that are more independent, and then what they call assisted living memory care for people who are physically able to do things but need the cognitive assistance. And then the next level down from that is skilled nursing. So off of her description, I'm believing that her mom is in an independent living apartment. But back to the question that she asked is, why the recent setback? So Mom Tamsin lived in an independent living space where she had a normal routine, and she was getting a lot of feedback from her environment that helped keep her on track. When a person with dementia or any type of underlying cognitive impairment moves from one place to another, you can expect to see a change in their thinking. When you use the functional assessment staging tool, which talks about the different stages of dementia, stage 1 is no impairment all the way down to the worst, right before death, stage 8, 7, or 8, right? That model, the functional assessment staging tool model, is a retrogenesis model, which means going back to the beginning. So what that means, in essence, is that as people are following the stages of dementia, they're going back through through the developmental phases, just from independence back to being a total assist, like we would develop from being a baby all the way back, through to independent cognitive ability. So there's there's a stage in our life, and we all do this to an extent. We all use our surroundings and our community to cue us regarding our independence, and to keep us on track. So your mom, when she's been living in an independent community for a very long period of time, or an independent place for a very long period of time, what will happen is that she will use her environment to cue her. We all have a routine, right? So now we take her out of that very familiar environment and put her into a new surrounding, and all of a sudden her brain does not have all of the external cues that she had to keep her on track. Normal people have that happen. Anybody with any kind of cognitive impairment will definitely show that. It can take 3 to 4 weeks of being in a new surrounding for her to establish a new routine. If she's at a point where she can still establish a new routine, sometimes it can take even longer than that. So it is very common, very, very common for people when they move from one surrounding to another to show a change in their thinking. I would give it about 2 months for you to know what the new norm is. I would be working very hard with her in this period of time to reestablish new routines. I would recommend that you perhaps reach back out to me again, and we maybe talk about the non-intrusive monitoring. I know you have cameras in the house, but that way you could also get a sense of the community involvement that she has. You could consider putting it on her medication to make sure she's taking it. There's other ideas that I have for you regarding keeping her independent in the independent living center at the community care center. So please reach back out to me and let me know if those answered your questions. So the biggest reason for the setback probably is the change in environment. Now back to your statement of getting her to take you seriously when you talk about the musts of her diagnosis. Nobody can make anybody take anybody else seriously. Just understand she's probably not doing this volitionally. She's not on purpose sitting there saying, "Oh gosh, I'm trying not to take her seriously." She probably doesn't understand. She probably doesn't have the insight. At a moderate dementia level, she probably does not have the insight into being able to know truly what's going on. And like we've talked about, the higher level stuff's the first stuff that goes, right? So Tamsin, I will tag you in this afterwards. Make sure that I get a copy to you. I will be posting this in Think Different Dementia too, so when we're finished with this. So that was question 1. So far nobody's asked any more questions. I have 2 more questions on here, and then it'll just be me ranting or getting done with the conversation for today. There's Eunice. Thank you, Eunice. Oh, okay. So Eunice, I'm going to answer yours since you're live. I will answer the people who are not live in a minute here. So Eunice says, when do you start to crush medication for a loved one? Her mom struggles with her medication since she's out of the hospital. So Eunice, based off of what I know about your situation, and I'm just going to give some general information to the other listeners out there. Eunice lives in South Africa. Eunice and I have also been in contact with one another sporadically through actually WhatsApp, so you guys can contact me on WhatsApp too. Eunice's mom had a recent hospitalization. She was actually hospitalized for a few weeks and had a lot of medical things going on, but her mom also has dementia. And so to answer your question, there are a few things that you need to know, Eunice, is 1, not all medication can be crushed. So you first have to find out from the pharmacy what kind of medication your mom has and whether they can be crushed or not. Second of all, if she is having trouble with her medication, I definitely would suggest that you start to crush it, because we want to get the medication in her first. But thirdly, we got to figure out, is she having trouble swallowing? Is she pocketing? Some things that'll happen is they'll take the medication, they'll pocket them in their mouth on one side or another. They will have trouble swallowing it. Sometimes people, so another question is she having trouble swallowing thin liquids? Are you noticing coughing or throat clearing, or does she sound gurgly afterwards, like she's underwater? When people have liquids on their vocal cords, you can hear it. They'll sound kind of gurgly. So if she's having trouble with thin liquids, we've got to talk about that. That's a whole separate issue. But I would probably say a couple of things. If you don't want to start with crushing her medicine, what you can do is applesauce. Try some applesauce. Make your own applesauce if you can. It tastes better. Or just buy applesauce in the store, or even yogurt, or even pudding. Anything that is a little thicker. And try one pill at a time. Put it in the applesauce, and then have her try to take that. Sometimes that'll help them form something that's easier for them to, a bolus that's easier for them to actually swallow. If she struggles with that, so I would start with the applesauce, Eunice, or pudding or something like that. And then you could do, if you give her pop in the morning, a little thicker pop that's not chewable, ni stijve pap nie, but slap pap. If you could put it in her medicine that way, give her a spoonful of that and see if she gets it in. If she doesn't get that in, then I would definitely talk to the pharmacy and find out what you can crush and what you cannot crush, and put the stuff that you can crush into something like pop or applesauce or something like that. So I hope that helps you, Eunice. Reach out if that wasn't answering your question. I got an itchy nose. That's no good. No good at all. So Valerie, I'm going to, I see your question up here. I'm going to take a sip of water, but I want you to answer me a few questions. Does your husband still live with you at home? And what stage of dementia is he at, if you know, or kind of describe some of his behaviors? And what do you mean by he's gotten so mean? Are there specific circumstances? So if you could perhaps give me a little bit more information to work from, that would be wonderful. But I'm going to take a drink of water, and I just got a notification, and I don't know where my notification came from, but I'm going to take a quick sip of water while hopefully Valerie answers my question, and then I will get back to answering Valerie's question or one of the others on my sheet here. I'm just a little thirsty, so excuse me. Cheers. Hydration, hydration, hydration. Remember, you need to drink a lot of water, and people with dementia, we got to make sure that they drink a lot of water. All right, well, that helps. So I'm going to give you, Valerie, a couple more seconds to see if she can answer my question. But in the meantime, I am going to answer Nishida's question. Nishida is also somebody that I've had some contact with before, so I know a little. So you see, the good thing about, contacting me is that I start to put people and places and spaces and so on together in my brain. As far as I remember, Nishida is currently in India, and she is living with her mom and dad while she is on break, while, she's kind of helping her dad. But she just celebrated her mom's 78th birthday this past week, and I think it was somebody else's birthday today, but I don't remember if it was Nishida or the other lady who I messaged. But anyway, she wants to know why her mom remembers her, Nishida, and her brother, and Nishida's brother, her son, but thinks that their dad is her mom's oldest brother, or sometimes her mom's father. So Nishida, that is not uncommon at all. People with dementia will start to not recognize other people and so on. I don't know particularly why she thinks your dad is her brother or her own dad. other than the fact that they may perhaps in her mind look a little bit alike, which I don't know for a fact, it would not surprise me if your mom at some point perhaps thinks your brother is your dad. That happens a lot when people start to go through stages of dementia and they're remembering things from 50 years ago. Your brother at his age now may actually look like your dad did 50 years ago when they met or when they were, newly married. It is not uncommon for people to mistake other people, specifically if there is some sort of a strong resemblance in coloring or other kinds of physical traits that remind her of her own brother or her own father. So I would guess that's what's going on. And remember, a lot of this is just educated guesses. A lot of people show a lot of the same types of behaviors and so on. So it is not uncommon at all for people to mistake other people for people that they've known in the past, especially since her older brother or her father may not still be alive. So Nishita, I hope that helps you and answers your question. So back to Valerie. Valerie had asked, why is her husband getting so mean? And she said she didn't know his stage. She thinks he's in his early stage. He yells at her in the store, in the restaurant. He insults her. To her, he seems to be in the stage 4 to 5 level. So Valerie, that's a great question. It is very frustrating, and I hear your pain. I know it must be so hard, especially in public. I have not necessarily had that happen to me, so I can just imagine what that feels like. So first thing I want to say is, Valerie, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that your husband's doing this. So back to the functional assessment staging tool, the FAST staging tool, which is a retrogenesis model. Stages 4 to 5, and I always have to cheat when I do this because, I'm a human and I can't remember everything either. So I have my handy dandy cheat book here because I've been working through this with something else. I'm just going to real quick read stages 4 to 5. Early stage has difficulty in complex tasks of daily life, things like paying bills, etc., but able to do their own self-care tasks still with good quality, but has difficulty learning new activities. Early stage 5 definitely will start to have trouble with choosing their clothes and needs help for independent community functioning. The spouse or the caregiver needs to help the person with appropriate clothing, and may start to need trouble in unfamiliar locations. So that's stage 4 to 5. So early stages 4 to 5. So as people are going through these stages, Valerie, if you want to think about it this way, your brain, and I use this analogy a lot, and I base it off of my experiences as a therapist, right? So we develop as a baby and we go through the whole spectrum until we're an adult. Our thinking processes actually start to stabilize or become mature at about 25 years old. But from the ages of about, 14, 15, as we're developing what we call executive functioning skills, which are the ability to plan, have forethought, organize things, and our memory, our working memory. But one of those things is emotional regulation. So emotional regulation is our inhibition switch, right? So inhibition switch, when we start to have dementia, or when we start to lose our thinking processes, right? Think about your brain as an onion. So the outer levels of the onion are the higher level skills, the things that we just talked about, the executive functioning, planning, forethought, organization, anticipating secondary consequences, time management, and emotional regulation. There are a few more, but for purposes of today, that'll help, right? So the higher level skills are the first part of the onion that kind of get peeled away and that we start to lose. So what I would say, what's happening with your husband is a few things. He's lost his inhibition switch. He is not able to, we all, I do this, right? We all do this. We have an inhibition switch in our brain. We do not say everything we think. Just think about how bad society would be if we actually told people everything that was going through our head, right? So people with dementia start to actually lose their inhibition switch. They don't have that, what we call societal behavior that we teach our children. You teach your kids when they're 2, 3, 4 years old in the store, right? You cannot say that lady's fat, right? So as we're losing this, we lose our inhibition switch. So he's starting to lose his inhibition switch, and he's not able to control that anymore. And so that's emotional regulation. And so I hate that he's doing that to you. The best thing that I could recommend that you try is, in those particular situations, try not to escalate it, right? So try not to argue with him. It's not going to help. It's very hard when somebody's insulting you not to go to your own defense, right? Especially because you are likely knowing that what he's saying is totally not true, right? So you don't want to escalate it by arguing back. You want to try to get the person distracted or just, off of the track. I would recommend maybe starting to diarize and see if it's always happening like in the same, what triggers it, right? What happens right before? What happens right in the moment? What happens afterwards? We all have things that we are, behavior's trying to communicate something. His behavior's trying to communicate something. Even though he's insulting you, his behavior is still trying to communicate something. Is he overwhelmed? Like when he goes to the store with you, is that too much stimulation? His brain cannot process it, and people are all around, and he's maybe frightened because somewhere he realizes that if he got lost in the store, he can't find his way back home again. What are some of the other, what are the surrounding factors? Does it happen at a specific time of day? Do you always go to the same store? Is he hungry? Is he tired? Is he overwhelmed? Is he overstimulated? All of these things. So diarizing, writing down what is happening and just documenting it for a bit will help you, because your job as his wife and as his caregiver, and helping him, is to figure out what's triggering it, right? What is triggering the behavior? Then you've got to ask yourself a few questions once you've done that. So you get the information first, right? Be the dementia detective. Write down all of the information, and then you have to ask yourself, is it worth taking him to the store with you? Because if there's a pattern to it, and it always happens at the same time, place, situation, you've figured out what's going on, is it worth the behavior that happens, right? The behavior of him insulting you or yelling, or even hitting or whatever. Is that behavior, is it worth it to take him to the store with you, to facilitate that process? What do we need to do to interrupt the loop? Do we need to get some caregiver help in the house so you can go to the store without him, so we don't go into this loop? Is he still safe enough to be home alone, so that you can run to the store? Do we need to look at the non-intrusive home monitoring system, so that you can watch him while you're at the store, and do all of those kinds of things? So I see your comment that he wants to go to the store with you because he says he has to get out of the house. Okay, so can we compromise? Can we try not going to the store, but going somewhere else that may be quieter, that may not have as much stimulation to get him out of the house? I don't know what just happened there, to get him out of the house so that you can still take him out of the house, but not into a store that has as much stimulation. Maybe try to go to a park, go for a walk, take him out of out of the house in that sense. Try to find a couple of other ways to get him out of the house. Exercise, maybe join, I don't know, depending, on how old you guys are and so on, joining or not joining a gym, or just going for a walk, going to the mall and just going for a walk around the loop of the mall just to get some exercise, depending on where you live and climate and that kind of stuff, but not actually taking him to the store, because a store can be extremely overstimulating. There's a lot going on. You're focused on trying to, there's so much that our brain has to take. So I hope that answers your question, Valerie. I was trying to give you as fully orbed of an answer as I could. Try a couple of these strategies. Let me know how they work out. I will tag you in this so you can watch it again later. But I do truly appreciate your situation, and I think personally, the big thing I would recommend you think about is the behavior he shows worth taking him to the store for? If it triggers that behavior, I think we should try and do something different. There's no reason for you to be insulted, and that just concerns me for you, because he doesn't remember, but you do, and I don't want that for you. So the last question I have on my sheet over here, and anybody else out there watching live, please put live or ask a question. If you're watching on the replay, please put replay. I meant to do that earlier, so if you're watching on the replay, put hashtag replay. That helps so that the videos kind of get watched again, which is the purpose. The purpose behind this is education, education, education. So please share these videos. I'd love for people to be able to hear a little bit more about dementia. Like I said, it's my passion. So here was the last question on my trusty little sheet for today's December the 5th, 2020. And it was from Nyla. Nyla wants to know why her mom has difficulty making sentences or speaking in the morning when awakening, but later in the day she can speak but doesn't always make sense, but she can speak a little bit more. Nyla, I don't really know exactly why that is happening, but my educated guess would be that when your mom is waking up in the morning, she may not be all the way awake yet. Depending on what kind of medication she's taking at night, is she still getting the medication out of her system? What time of day is she waking up? What stage of dementia she's at? But if she's at a stage where she can speak but doesn't always make sense, I would say she's probably in a further stage of dementia, or a later stage of dementia, where people are starting to just have one or two words or short sentences and they don't always make sense. So a couple of things that jump out at me is, one, what kind of medication is she on? Is she on medication that will still have her sleepy first thing in the morning, so her brain's not all the way engaged? Second thing is, we lose a lot of water overnight, which is why we need to drink a glass of water first thing in the morning to help rehydrate ourselves. Coffee doesn't rehydrate you, people. I drink 2 cups of coffee in the morning. Coffee doesn't rehydrate you, but we got to drink water. So number 2, is she hydrated enough in the morning? Give her some water, see if that helps. Number 3, is she just not all the way awake yet, and that's not her best time of day, and as she kind of starts to wake up, she gets a little bit better throughout the day. People with dementia have better times and worse times, and better times and worse times. So the biggest thing that you got to remember when we have trouble with our brain, anybody who has trouble with well, we all have trouble. Let me rephrase that. We all have trouble with our brain, just because when we are functioning at a better, higher level quality, higher level status with our brain, when we're having a bad day, right? So say this is your ability to function, your normal ability to function. And I can't get my fingers lined up right. Okay, so your normal ability to function is like this. And then one day you wake up and you are not doing as well. And you're down here. But your normal ability to function is still within the normal range. So you don't notice that little gap makes a difference in your ability to do things, in your planning and your whatever. You may not be thinking as fast. This is for normal people, for anybody, right? So now we have dementia. And our normal ability to function is down here, okay? And we're only functioning at maybe 30 or 40% of what was normal. And now we have a bad day, and our normal ability to function is here. Now, because we're not up here where normal people are, but we were down here and then we dropped down even further, it becomes very obvious that 5% change or difference in ability to function when we're already having trouble with our thinking processes, or we have a known or diagnosed dementia, can be a big difference. So people with dementia, when they have even little bits of fluctuation in their ability, we notice it because it's very big. Because that 3% or 5% of 30% functioning is a big, big deal. Like if I lose 5% of my functioning, but I'm always functioning at 80 or 90%, right? You don't notice that 5%. But when people are typically only functioning maybe at a 30% level or 25% level, and they have a 5% drop, oh man, that's big, big difference. So I would guess a few things. Look at her medication, see is she just not metabolized her medication out of her system yet. Make sure she's hydrated enough. Is she awake yet? Or that may just be the first thing in the morning is just not her best ability to function. She's not awake enough yet. She's not functioning at her highest ability yet, and what you're seeing later in the day is her best ability to function. So Nyla, that was an answer to your question. It is about 12:50. We have about 10 minutes. I don't see any more questions out there. Yet again, my name is Lizette. I'm an occupational therapist. A little bit about my background and training. I support my mom and dad. My mom has vascular dementia. She had her first stroke at 42, and we live about an hour away from them, and I'm their primary support. My husband is wonderful. He helps support me, help my parents tremendously. At the beginning of this hour, I was talking about non-intrusive monitoring. These little sensors that you can subscribe to and get in your house. I put some information in the link. The company that I work with, their name is Home Accept, and they are tremendous. So if you want to reach out to them, if you do that though, I ask please use my affiliate code, which is TDD for Think Different Dementia. I don't see any more questions out there, so I want to thank you guys for being here. I want to go back. I'm going to scroll through here real quick because I think Eunice says that she's having trouble with, her mom was having trouble with everything. Eunice, I know your situation is unique in South Africa, but you probably want to try to give your mom some what we call natural nectar consistencies, sierras, fruit juices, things like peaches and lychee and guava juice that are a little thicker. They're a little slower when they go down. That may help her so that she swallows. When we're drinking thin liquids like water, it goes down very quickly. So if your mom is having trouble swallowing and you cannot have access to a speech therapist who can help you with her swallowing, do some of the things that I suggested and let me know if they worked please, I would love to hear from you. So, I would go buy some cereals juice and see if that helps her swallow a little bit better because it's a little slower. And since I know you're in South Africa, you can find cereals juice. And maybe try to puree her food. When people have trouble swallowing, pureed food's easier to go down. Really slow it down a lot. Try to give her, one bite at a time. You can also try to alternate a liquid and a solid, a liquid and a solid, see if that helps it go down. Yet again, Eunice, I know you're in South Africa. I know that you have unique circumstances in South Africa, not having access to the resources we have here in the United States. So if there are any speech language pathologists who are watching this, I would ask you to maybe reach out to Eunice. She's a great, great person, but the people in South Africa right now have no home health access. So if we can hook her up with some virtual, types of help, that might be great. Eunice, I'm going to try to post this on a therapy group that I'm part of, and I will put a little tag in there saying for the speech language pathologists to maybe watch and see if they can reach out to you that way. Okay. Yet again, I'm here for you guys. This is your hour. I love to come on here and answer questions. Dementia is my specialty, my passion. I do want people to really think a little bit about asking me more questions. It's easier for me when there are questions, but I don't mind talking. I've had a lot of people tell me I can probably talk forever. So, any other questions out there? Thank you for the people who did join me today on the live. I, for some reason, can never see who's on live. Maybe it's because I'm on my I don't know. I don't know why I cannot see how many people are on at a time, but I know that when people come on, they ask me questions, so I appreciate your questions. And it is time for me to wrap up. I'm going to post this again in the group, so remember, thinkdifferentdementia@gmail.com. Thinkdifferentdementia@gmail.com gets a hold of me. Anne! Okay. Yeah, that is not uncommon. So Anne said her dad has very bad constipation. That is not uncommon at all with dementia. First thing I would do is, just real quick off the top of my head, first thing I would do is take a list of his medication and look up whether the side effects include constipation. So that's the first thing. Lots of medication have a side effect of constipation. You can call the pharmacy and you can ask the pharmacist if any of those medications, if the side effect is constipation. Second of all, people get constipated for a variety of reasons. Number one, it's because they're not drinking enough water. Water. Number two, they are not eating enough fiber. Number three, they are not moving enough. So we, move helps move, for me being punny. So moving around will help your bowels to move. Then the next thing I will do is I'm gonna let me see. I'm gonna see if I can do this. There's a thing called a squatty potty. I don't know if I can. I'm going to pull it. I'm going to see if I can link it in here real quick, okay? It's called the Squatty Potty, okay? And this is just Best Bath and Beyond. Bed Bath and Beyond. So what a Squatty Potty, did it take it? Maybe it did not. Oh, yep, it did. So what the Squatty Potty does is it changes our position for going to the bathroom, and it can help. So standard toilets, the way we sit on a regular toilet, is really not the best position for pooping. It just isn't. When we actually flex up our knees and think about a child when they're little, right, and they want to poop, what position do they take? They go down into a squatting position. So squatting positions actually help your bowels clear out. So I would start with Medication. I would look to see if it has a side effect of constipation. I would make sure he's getting enough water. Water, water, water. I would make sure he's getting some fiber, enough fiber. You can put some soluble fiber in water or food, to give a person. I would make sure he maybe is not taking a laxative, but taking a stool softener to help soften up the poop and see if that can help him. What happens when people get constipated is that they hold it because they know it's going to hurt when they go, right? So they don't want to go because it hurts when they go, and then when they don't go, it makes them even more constipated, so it becomes a loop. Lots of other ideas. Some of them, you got to think. I would definitely start with what I've mentioned. If you have more questions about it, there are some other things that you can do that I don't want to throw out there because I don't necessarily know enough about your dad's situation. So anyway, I hope that helped, Anne. I would suggest that you start with those. Definitely medication. I would look at the squatty potty. There are some Facebook groups that deal with bowel and bladder types of things. If you are interested, I could maybe hook you up with one that is for like therapists, or that I know a therapist runs, because those things are a little bit different. I know that people with dementia get constipation, and the reasons I've mentioned are part of the reason why. I just knocked something on the counter, which made a beep 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 in my eyes, which is why I threw up my arms like that. So anyway, it is 1 o'clock. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you for joining me yet again. Please throw out questions. I will be back here next Saturday at about noon, and have a wonderful, blessed day.